Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have George Rivera with us. George, thank you so much for joining and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Atul. Excited to be here.
Same here. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm an internet marketer. I've been online since 1995. It's a long time ago, since dinosaurs used to walk on the earth. Yeah, and for 30 of those years, so 31 years now, but 30 of them, I was in what's called direct response marketing, where you put money in, money comes out, and that difference is profit, and that's how you live, that's how you eat, that's how you buy things. And so over the last year, I've done something completely different, which is coming together with the Buyback Time Formula. And yeah, that's my mission in life now, is to help spread the word about that.
So, what inspired you to write that book?
Yeah, good question. I'll kind of go back a little bit to the beginning. This is back in middle school and high school. So this is late 80s and early 90s. And in the United States, that's about a 6-year period of education. And I played in about 40 basketball games. And my dad only went to one of those games. And I remember feeling confused, like, does my dad care? Like, why is he not here? And I remember, like, I would score a basket and then I look to the stands and there's no dad in the stands to cheer or support you. My teammates, they would score a basket and their dad's in the stands. Go, you go, this is my son. And I remember looking at another dad when he was doing that, for his son. And I remember thinking, I wish he was my dad. And that would have crushed my dad, because he was a good man, but he was a hard worker, and he gave his whole life went to his career. He was a medical doctor. He was very successful on paper financially. Always gave us nice homes, nice cars, and great, trips and vacations to Europe every summer. But when I needed him the most, he wasn't there. So I was looking at another dad saying, I wish he was my dad. And so fast forward about 20 years, this is now 11 years ago, 2015. And he's entering his 40th year of medical practice. His parents, my grandparents, had just passed away 2-3 years before, in their mid 90s. And so he's thinking, I have good genetics, I have a long life ahead of me. And there's this phrase we say here in the States: God laughs at man's plans. It's almost like, you think you have this plan, there's another plan. And he got diagnosed with cancer early on in the year, and so he only had a few months to live. And towards the end of his life, one of the last words he told me, which is the foundation of everything I do now, is, don't miss Leo's games. I miss too many of yours. And Leo's my son. So that kind of gave me a flashback to the younger days of, like, oh my gosh, like, he really wanted to be at those games. He just didn't know any better. And so that was like nice closure for that. But then more currently is like, oh my goodness, I'm repeating the mistakes of my dad all over again. So I'm doing the nice homes, cars, and trips to Europe thing with my family in exchange for my presence and attention, thinking, oh, I'm a provider and that's all they need. They don't need me present. They just need, my money and all that. And so when he told me that, I was like, I didn't like that as a son, but now I'm repeating that as a dad, and this has to stop. But it's going to stop tomorrow, because today I'm working 16 hours. And then tomorrow comes, and then I'm like, well, let's push it to tomorrow. Let's push it to tomorrow. And a lot of tomorrows becomes 3 years. And so my dad's already passed away, 3 years before. And this is now summer of 2018. I scaled my supplement company, my online company, to $20 million that year. Very successful. And I have a money printer. It's just spitting out money that I can't spend fast enough. As long as I don't buy like a helicopter or a military tank, I should be fine. I didn't buy any of those. So what happened was, I reached the peak of burnout, and I had the world's worst organization chart. Imagine me here as the owner, and then 40 people beneath me. And then I would send down a task and it would come back up to me. And then I would steal from the future by saying, it's just quicker if I do it myself. And of course it is. But if you do that every time, you're paying people to do things that you're doing the work for, which is kind of crazy. And I was crazy doing that for a long time. And so I reached out to my coach, my mentor, and I told him, I can't take this anymore. I'm done. You can't just say, snap your fingers and sell a business tomorrow. It takes years to do that. But you can burn down a business overnight. It's not a smart thing, but you can do that. You can sabotage a business, but that's just not a smart idea. And so I called my mentor, and it was a 2-hour conversation. But to give you the highlights of the call, he said, stop doing what you don't like doing and keep doing what you're good at. What I'm good at is, marketing, communication, messaging, average order value, revenue generating activities, administrative, merchant accounts, invoicing, techie stuff. Like I can do it, but it shouldn't be the same brain doing both. You should have other teams doing the other stuff. And
Yeah.
so that phone call and the verge of burnout, that was the beginning of the buyback time formula. But I didn't know that name then. I didn't know what a bottleneck was. I didn't know what frameworks were. I just started doing the work. And then the pinnacle, the top of the success of implementing this came about 2 or 3 years later. It took a
Mhm.
little longer because entrepreneurs, we have an identity that we don't want to let go. Like I'm the
Mhm.
best one at doing this thing, even though
Mhm.
that's not true, but we think we are. And
Mhm.
we build ourselves what I call the founder prison. You find a company, you build it up, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm in this prison and I can't get out. So that's the mentality. Of course, you can get out. You just have to have a pathway to do that. And so the success or the result of me getting out was more than doubling my business to just shy of $50 million. But the most important part, remember, my dad said, don't miss Leo's games. So I never missed any of his games. In fact, I taught him how to negotiate real estate at 8 years old. He made an
Wow.
offer on a property that we purchased on an investment property. I told him, the old me would have said, son, here's an iPad, go into the room, and we'll let you know when the big people are done talking. But the new me, the current me, says, teachable moment. So I told my son, you're going to make the offer to the realtor. So I
Mhm.
said, this is the price we're going to pay. We're going to close in 30 days. I said, leave the furniture and leave the dock because this is an investment property. So we want to
Mhm.
leave those items and
Mhm.
that'll save our family like $100,000. And he looks at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, don't worry, son, we'll talk about it later, but go tell the realtor what I just told you. So he
Mhm.
goes, tells the realtor, and the realtor is looking a little, impressed, like, oh, this young kid is telling me all these important things. And then he looks at me saying, did he just speak for you? And I said, he spoke for us. Yes, that's the offer. And yeah, so we got the property and all that.
Mhm.
And also more current day, my son just turned 11 last week, but he has a podcast. He's interviewed already 25, 26 people at the age of 10. And so, and these are just my network. He's young. He
Mhm.
doesn't have a network, but I'm making connections for him and he's getting very good at it. So, and I say all that because that's evidence of a present father at home. Like the
Mhm.
old me could have never done that. I would have never taught him how to negotiate real estate. I would have never taught him how to think to have a podcast. And
Mhm.
so that's evidence of a present father. And so I kind of went off track with my son, but coming back to the buyback time formula, over the last 2, 3, 4 years, I've had a number of friends and peers tell me, you need to teach this stuff to other people. And I'm like, okay, teach what? And they say, well, you're always traveling, you're pouring into your family, you've got this great lifestyle, you're always making money, and you just seem happy. And then I was like, oh, okay. So what do I teach? How to be happy, how to travel, how to make money. I didn't understand what to teach. And
Mhm.
then over the last few months, the whole idea of buyback time came to play. If I can help the business owner remove themselves from doing the stuff that they shouldn't be doing so that they can have time to do anything else, that's how you do it. But the time doesn't just go to anywhere else. It goes back to your family because it's likely that your family is feeling the pain and the pressure of you working because you're gone. You're working hard and you're not
Mhm.
home imparting into your family. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that the average woman, at least here in the United States, could be worldwide, but the
Mhm.
average woman is thinking for 2 years about leaving their husband before they actually do it. So it's not an instant thing. It's a
Mhm.
buildup of disappointments, emotions, and all
Mhm.
that. And so if people are out there and they find themselves in that position, there's still time to turn it around. So you need to figure out a way to get yourself out from being the bottleneck to be present at home so that you can restore the relationship with your family and your children because they need a present father in the home. So I threw a lot out at you. So wherever you want to go from here.
Okay, so how do you delegate outcomes instead of tasks so you never take the money back?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good question. The old me, like I said, would delegate and it would come back to me and I would rob from the future. So the way to do it properly is to transfer ownership of the task and you need to show them what the outcome looks like. And so instead of saying, here, do this, and then you hope that they do it, you need to show them, do this, but here's what the finished product looks like. And you give them the liberty to improve it. Oftentimes we think, oh, you have to follow this structure and this idea. But if you hire the right people, they should have the liberty to improve your process, make it more efficient. And so, yeah, that's the best way to transfer ownership when you do delegate. And yeah, that's been what's worked for me.
What's the number one delegation mistake founders make?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the answer where they just say, "Here, do this," but you don't give a clear expectation of what the outcome looks like. So, in order to do that properly, like I said, you transfer ownership. But I'll go a step further: is that there's documentation that you need to do that they can follow. And again, you give them the ability to improve it, but you need to give them a starting point. And what I like to do is use a screen recording software, something like Loom. Everybody knows about Loom, and so you turn on Loom and you start talking and you show what it is that you want to be done. And then you take the transcript of Loom and then you put it in ChatGPT. And then you say, make me a nice SOP, which stands for standard operating procedure, a process that somebody can follow. And then ChatGPT will make you a nice little step one, step two, step three. And then you review it because ChatGPT is not perfect. It's 90% there, but you make sure that, okay, every little step is in there. And then I put that on a Google Doc that you can always update, and then you put the link to the Loom video right there as well. Then I go to the person I'm tasking it to and I say, here's the link to the Google Doc and the video. Please watch it. I have 10 minutes. I'm waiting. So they can watch it, comprehend, understand it. If there's something like, can you clarify this? Oh, okay. And then you clarify and you make sure, okay, how about now? And you just keep doing that until they say, yes, I got it. And then that's it. And then I tell them, you own this. I should never see this again unless we change a vendor or something. But like assuming that this is what we're going to do, this should never come back to me. And that's how you transfer ownership. And you can have like a weekly or monthly or quarterly meeting just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Like, okay, anything change? Do you need help with anything? Okay, yes, no. And then you just go on. But that should never be like an interruption in the middle of the day. How do I do this? I don't know. Like it's documented and it's off your plate.
So, what is the $10,000 hour filter, and how can a founder use it this week to reclaim time?
Yeah, so for me, my best use of time was worth $10,000 an hour, but it's subjective. So everybody's going to have, okay, maybe somebody's at $100 an hour, and we're talking USD, 500 an hour, 1,000, 10,000, doesn't matter, but it's just an example number. But let's just go with $500 an hour, for example. Let's say that your time is worth $500 an hour, but once you review and audit your time, which is part of the process, you identify that I'm spending 20 hours a week on tasks that are $50 an hour and under. And so that should be the first indicator that you, as the business owner, should not be doing those tasks because it's costing you money to take your time to do those tasks. So that's what I call, or what we say in the States, low hanging fruit. It's kind of like easy to grab and fix it. It's like easy to consume. That's what you want to get off of your plate first. And so that's how you measure what can you reclaim because you realize what your time is worth and you're only going to stick to those tasks, not the other lower level tasks, if that makes sense.
So, what's the first system you install in any company?
The first system install, I would say it's figuring out how do we remove the owner from the day to day in the business. So the owner shouldn't be completely removed. They should be doing things that bring in revenue for the business, like strategic relationships. If you're a marketing company or a product based company, it's like what other areas can we enter, and what other products can we develop or services? Like that's where the business owner should be, not in paperwork or administrative things or invoicing or reconciliation. And so the easiest way to do that is to start by auditing your time. You give yourself $1 per hour value, like we just discussed, get those things off of your plate. And now you're only focused on higher level activities that bring in revenue. So that would be my first start anywhere to any company is let's get those lower dollar value things off your plate. So you're focused on the top level things.
So, how do you know a business can run without the founder?
So it's what I call the 2 week vacation test. If the founder can get away from the business for 2 weeks and it still runs and grows, then you essentially have a business that can give you freedom. Now, I don't suggest people do that on day one because there's a lot of systems that depend on the founder, on the owner. So what I say when I take on a new client, say on the onboarding call, I say, look at your calendar. 6 months from now, we're going to plan a vacation for 2 weeks. And a lot of times they'll say, 2 weeks. I can't even step away for 1 hour. How am I going to be away for 2 weeks? And I say, good, you need this more because of what you just said, because of the stress that came up.
Mhm.
So we don't just get into it on day one, we implement the systems. And then we don't just implement the systems and then do our 2 week vacation. We'll do an afternoon off, we'll do 2 days off, we'll do a weekend off. And then from small little breaks and vacations, you'll see, okay, what didn't happen in my business? It won't collapse, it'll just maybe delay something by a day. Like a department didn't get an email or a customer didn't get their link or something. It's not catastrophic, but it's something that you can identify, that you can say, oh, this, we didn't encounter this or we didn't understand this. Now we fixed it. Now we've done this a couple of times. Now I can be gone for 2 weeks and trust that the system will perform just fine. And you install what I call a number two, a second
Mhm.
person in command, where everything stops and it doesn't penetrate to the business owner. And so if for whatever reason the business owner needs to be contacted, then there's a protocol,
Mhm.
emergency protocol for that. But I've never had an emergency of that magnitude happen. So we'd have to make up excuses in order to discuss examples because really it's never happened before. But yeah, that's how you tell if you've built a real business.
Okay, okay. So, with all the success you have, which personality trait would you attribute majority of your success to?
Yeah, which personality trait? I would just say the determination to crossing that line of completion. It's almost like a stubbornness that you need to have. I mean, people say stubborn, they can think that that's negative, and sometimes it is, but there's also a positive stubbornness where you encounter a wall and you're like, nope, I'm still going. I'm still gonna pursue because at the end of the achievement, you're going to receive something very good. For example, time freedom, time with your family, financial freedom. So if you really want those things, you have to be a little stubborn and go against the wind and the pressure that's on the opposing side. And
Mhm.
so that would be the trait is you have to be somewhat stubborn.
By the way, what about that company, your supplement company?
Yeah. So the supplement company, it's a great company. It targets people. I would call them baby boomers. That's how we
Hmm.
classify them here in the states. I don't know if you have similar there, but yeah, people that want to look and feel younger. And
Mhm.
so yeah, it's been a very successful company. But it used to have me in what I call the founder prison, and
Mhm.
ever since I broke out of it, now it continues to make money without me having to be active every single minute like it used to be. And
Mhm.
so, but that again, that goes back to me being stubborn. There was a lot of pressure against, me doing this, but I did it. I pulled through, and now I'm able
Mhm.
to survive and tell other people, hey, you can come to the other side. It's okay. It's worth the journey.
For our listeners who want to get some help from you or read your book, where can they go?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, buybacktimeformula.com. I have a book there. It's free, just pay shipping. It's a heavy book. It's 128 pages. It's kind of workbook style, so it's kind of a long book. And yeah, it has everything I know about buying back time. There's some other books that you buy and they give you nice little tips, but then it's like, oh, you want more tips? Go here and buy the big thing. That's not what I do. It's all in there. But I also know that if anybody's like the me of 10 years ago, and I call that cash rich, time poor. Cash rich because you're making lots of money, but time poor because your business gets all your time, not your family. I would have paid a small fortune to collapse the time that it took me from being prisoner to free. And I know there's other people out there that'll say, oh, wow, this book's amazing, but I don't have time. And so if they do need to contact me, my information's on the book, it's on the website, and we can discuss working together to help collapse the time of going from founder prisoner to freedom. But yeah, that's at buybacktimeformula.com. And my social links are on there too. If anybody's on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can follow me there and say hello, communicate. And yeah, that's how you can find me.
Okay, George, thank you so much for spending some time with us, and it was fun.
Thank you, Atul. This is fun.